Museum. Good afternoon, it's nice to meet you. So the second segment of the afternoon is Flash Session 2020. I am the head of the Promotion and Cooperation Office at the Busan National Science Museum. So the Flash Session is related to themes other than, but not excluding, the SDG goal number 17, which is the theme of the 10th ISSM: education, environment, exhibition, creativity, and makers. These are various themes of the Flash Session today. So I'd like to introduce our 8 speakers. 2 speakers, their face will not be shown because they are to present their lectures via video. First is Kewadi Achawisit from Thailand, National Science Museum of Thailand. Second speaker is also from National Science Museum, Thailand, Rakchana Butayuthi. Third speaker is from Science Center for Education in Thailand, Piakan Srimwang. Fourth speaker is from Kit Stop at Science Center Singapore, Regina Lee Wen-eun. Our fifth speaker is from Science Center Singapore, Jiazen Liu. Sixth speaker is from Chungnam National University here in Korea, Namsari Jargal from Mongolia. The seventh speaker is from Petrossian at the Discovery Center in Malaysia, Nansirati Bitya Supahan. And last speaker, also from Kit Stop at Science Center Singapore, Lei Peng and Astra Yap. So we have 8 speakers in total. Thank you very much for taking part in the Flash session. There's no separate Q&A session for the Flash session. However, if the audience have any questions with regards to Flash session, please leave them on the chat room and we will respond to those questions later. Allow me to introduce the first speaker. The title of the presentation is Promoting Science Learning Through Science Activities in Outreach Program to Equity in Education in Thailand. Again, the speaker is Kedawi Echawit.
Everyone, I am Kewadi Achawisit. I'm science educator from National Science Museum, Thailand. Today, I would like to present our project entitled Promoting Science Learning Through Science Activity in Outreach Program to Equality in Education in Thailand. This present consists of 4 parts. The first, introduction, then objective, and then project effect and conclusion. First of all, I would like to present the National Science Museum, Thailand. We have a mission to promote the public awareness of science through exhibition in our 4 museums: Science Museum, Natural History Museum, Information and Technology Museum, and Ramanai Museum. In addition, we aim to further public understanding of science through learning activity. For example, science camp, science show, science lab, walk rally, and museum trail. Our 4 museums, located in central plain of Thailand, Pathum Thani province, from the past to present, the majority of Thai citizens have good economic status, living in a big city. Also, many of learning centers located in cities. However, people living in countryside have limitations includes time, expense of transportation, and safety to access the learning source. Therefore, the youth in countryside may have few opportunities to access the learning center. To address the problems I mentioned previous, outreach program of Science Caravan was established. The programs allows participants to access to information and opportunity to learn science, inspire and emphasize scientific value, and significantly create educational equality, particularly for all Thai youth in all over the place. Our service area are all around the Thailand, which except the place nearby NSM. This is the example place. This place is very far from National Science Museum, Thailand. Science Caravan consists of 6 parts. The first, traveling exhibition, science show, fun science activity, Makerspace, Petrossian, and the last one, science laboratory. This slide shows interactive exhibition which the youth can basically experience by touching, playing, and learning with scientific phenomena. Next, science show. This activity promotes learning science with exciting and amazing. Fun science activity. The youth will receive scientific toy which they can experience observation and DIY with fun. For example, rocket from drinking straw. Next, this is a Makerspace which promotes critical and logical thinking to solve the problem under limitation as the basic step of inventor or innovator in the future. This our planetarium, which further the youth to learn astronomy and the beauty of stars in the daytime. They can also learning about secret of space, and it's interesting which make them enjoy studying astronomy. It's the last one. Science laboratory is one of popular activity in Science Caravan. It's scientific laboratory, which all participants will notice, practice, and find the answer in each scientific phenomena with self-learning method. This activity emphasizes that science is all around us and aim to participants to enjoy learning. The response of this project is very impressive and successful. Since the start, only 20,000 participants in 4 provinces were attended. Now, more than 500,000 people and people from more than 45 districts per year and attend during 15 years of this project. In addition, we expand and divide the journey of Science Caravan into 3 parts to allow people to list: provincial caravan, remote school caravan, and specialized caravan. This project has been launched in every part of Thailand, 26 provinces. We get positive feedback and inspire the youth more than 3.86 million people. This graph shows the number of places we travel in each year. In 2019, we list up to 54 places, 15 year total, 420 venues. This slide shows learning outcome. In 2019, our questionnaire and results from the 900 participants in 6 regions: Northern, Southern, Central, Eastern, Western, and Northern Eastern. In addition, this graph shows the percentage of each gender. The first 58.78 is female and 41.22% is male. And if we see the detail of age, we found that people who are interested in our activity is 13 to 15 years old, which is the first rank, about 55%. 16 to 18 years old follow as the second rank, about 20%. And younger than 12 years old occupy 15 as the third rank. This result shows that the first 3 language participants interacted and received from Science Caravan are: the first, the understanding of science, technology, and innovation. Secondly, enjoyment and inspiration. And finally, scientific skill. Conclusion: in 2020, Science Caravan has been processing many projects and activity for leading science and technology to Thai citizens in all places, includes all remote area. Include in all remote area to generate educational equality and being one of science contributor in Thai society for national and sustainable development. Thank you for your attention.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you for the wonderful presentation. Because we do not have a session in which we take questions, I will just add my comment.
So I would say that in sum, it was about equal opportunity. So I believe that a diverse array of programs have been made for equal opportunity. So now the title is Science Caravan, but then I see that it is, let's say, a visiting science center or science center on wheels. So it is quite similar to that. And I also agree that it is very important for us to utilize programs like this to make our content and programs more accessible. And now with that, let us move right ahead to the second presentation.
This speaker is also from National Science Museum, Thailand. The title is Promoting Education and Harmony to the South of Thailand. The speaker's name is Rachana Butayoti.
Hello everyone, my name is Lakchanok Butayoti from National Science Museum, Thailand. Today I would like to present my educational project in Thailand. This presentation is provided into 3 parts. Firstly, initial of project. Secondly, สานใจไทยสู่ใจใต้ project. Finally, outcomes. Due to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal SDG 16, which concern the promotion of harmonious and inclusive society. To agree with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal SDG 16, which concern the promotion of harmonious and inclusive society, we, National Science Museum, public, private sectors, cooperation to reduce conflict and bring the harmony to Thai society, particularly in southern of Thailand. For more For more than 12 years, there is conflict in the southern part of Thailand due to religious separation in 3 provinces, Yala, Pattani, and Narathiwat. The strength of insurgency varied greatly, caused by clashing cultures, political views, and religions. Also terrified many teachers and other people to avoid the 3 provinces. To make the matter worse, the opportunity for further education is lacking. Most people have to resort to religious school as a result. Southerner youth are highly discriminated compared with youth from another areas of Thailand. The social inequality between 2 groups is immense. To address this problem, ศาลใจไทยสู่ใจใต้ was established by collaboration of public and private sectors. National Science Museum, 2 Corporation, and General Prem Tinasulanand Foundation to allow participants to have access to information for further education, careers, and funding source. Moreover, they have opportunity to apply scientific knowledge, experiments, and skills to their life. Significantly, they optimize their thinking method, improve their quality of life, realize the opportunity of studying in other fields. As part of this project, participants are accepted to be open-minded, willing to learn, and live with different religious and cultural beliefs harmoniously. Firstly, participants visit and study selected communities in Bangkok and neighboring provinces, all of which are composed of Buddhists, Muslims, and Christians who are living together in harmony. For instance, the community also features 3 more religious places: Santa Cruz Catholic Church, Wat Kalayana and Ton Son Mosque. Secondly, to enhance participant experience, they are allocated to live with Muslim host family in Bangkok and neighboring province for 2 weeks. Thirdly, and most importantly, these participants have opportunity to join the science camp by NSM. Since the start of ศาลใจไทยสู่ใจใต้ project, there are 36 cohorts of students who participate in the programs. The total number of participants is stunning 8,346. Yes, yet growing. Each year, there are 2 cohorts to allow as many students as possibility to benefit from the camp. Even after the camp, these participants are working together for establish the weaving tie hard for the South Society in each province to assist each other as well as benefit their communities. In conclusion, ศาลใจไทยสู่ใจใต้ aims to organize activities to benefit community, further inequality of education and eliminate disparity, agreeing with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal SDG 16. Create a scientific society for the sustainable development of the nation as the motto of NSM. Thank you for your attention.
네.
Thank you, Rachana Butayoti. That was a great presentation. So, among many measures to dispel social disparity in southern part of Thailand, the National Science Museum of Thailand has conducted this particular project that was shown through the presentation, giving scientific knowledge and encouraging young people to gain scientific knowledge as well. So I think the project emphasizes actionable science. Thank you for the presentation. Next is our third presentation, also from Science Center for Education in Thailand, Piakan Simuran. The title is Space and Time Virtual Exhibition, The Way to Move On During COVID-19 Situation.
예, 발표 시작.
Now, if you could start the presentation, and as we begin the presentation, let us also share the screen.
네, 화면.
Now, if you could share the screen first, could you do the screen share first?
Hello.
Can you see me?
Yeah, just now we are going
okay.
to
Just a second,
shut down
I cannot
the
share
screen.
my screen. Okay. Can you look?
Just 1 second.
Okay. Can you see my PowerPoint right now?
And not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
I can see you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Before I will start my presentation, I would like to thank you to an International Symposium of Science Museum 2020 to give me an opportunity to join and present my project in this conference. As you know, because of the COVID-19 situation, it has given an impact to every business around the world, including us. Many of science museums still closing for social distancing policy. In case of Science Museum for Education, Bangkok, Thailand, for answer our vision to raising awareness of science for people, we try to change our exhibition to online platform. So this is the reasons of my project, Space and Time Virtual Exhibition, the way to move on during COVID-19 situation. About us, National Science Center for Education, Bangkok, Thailand, is a learning center where everyone can explore about science, technology, nature science, environment, health science, astronomy, and space. Our mission is to create exhibit that educate, entertain, and engage visitor. We found on 1964 as a first science museum of Thailand. Space and Time exhibition is one of our exhibition in Science Center for Education. It is open in 2017. This exhibition have three main objectives are promoting interest in science and technology among younger generation and people, raising awareness of time regarding its impact on socio-economic and sustainable development of the country, and focus on science and technology content related to time and space. This exhibition have a space around 390 square meter. It is used the government budget 5 million baht or 156,000 US dollar. Our target we want more than 240,000 visitors come per year. Exhibition have 5 zones inside. You can look in the map picture on the top left side. The zone 1 is named Space Time. In the front of the exhibition, the gate is inspired by the wormhole theory to make an atmosphere-like visitor journey to the space. Inside the zone, use multi-function technology, for example, virtual reality, glasses, 4D spaceship experience, for the knowledge from board and the monitor media, for telling about the theory like twin paradox, general reality. Next, zone 2 is called the origin of the universe and time. This zone is about linkage between time and everything. It is start with the beginning of the time according to the Big Bang theory, relation about time and life on Earth, time and the human origin, time and living, and time and activity in life. Next, zone 3 is named Journey of Life and Time. This zone is telling about the purpose of life. We use the question to visitor, what is the happiness? We imply life like a labyrinth. When everyone start with when we happening, and we live our life when we perish. This zone is linked aside with the philosophy. Next, zone 4 is time and telling the time. We use a hand-on media. We use the interactive game like GMT for the visitor can play it about how to convert the time to another time zone. And we use the question like how the ancient people know about time, how we counting time, and what is the first clock in the world. And the last zone is named time and imagination. We have the time machine theater and the monitor media to telling about a new technology to answer the question like, can we live beyond the time? Is time traveling is possible? And is it have a possibility for the human to immortal? Or can we copy ourselves, our mind to the machine in the future? We choose this exhibition to be our first step in the virtual exhibition. We design it in dual language, English and Thai language. User can select device to access this exhibition, such as a smartphone, computer, laptop, and the virtual reality glasses. This project is received a budget from the government around 120,000 baht or 3,900 USD dollar. This slide show you an atmosphere inside our virtual exhibition. User can looking around, select a monitor media, can click on the board to zoom and show more the information. Some media like the spaceship here, we record that virtual to make the feeling like user can sitting inside the real thing. So because of the building we have, the space and time exhibition is still closed for renovate. We use this virtual version inside another exhibition by use the touch screen like this in the digital and machine learning exhibition. And after we publish the virtual version, we receive a feedback from some teacher. They use this version for their classroom for formal school. And we use an online Google form to get a feedback from the user. Now we have feedback from 10 users. They give an overall satisfaction as 4 to 5 points. And we use the Google Analytics to counting the number of users. And we found 48 countries around the world access with this platform after we start counting on 17 September. So I think we still have the time a little bit. I will, if you interest, you can visit our virtual exhibition by access to this link, and I will show you a little bit about the virtual exhibition. Okay, if you come inside the virtual exhibition, it look like this, and you can click yes to open the audio, and after that it show you the manual how to use it. After you start it, it will show you the gate of the exhibition, and you can click an arrow button to access and look around inside here. You can scroll up and down to zoom in and zoom out, and you can click to go to another way. You can click to the television to starting our media like this.
Around 300 years ago, Sir Isaac Newton, a renowned physicist and mathematician,
for example, and you can go inside the spaceship. Is use the version to the atmosphere like you go in the real place. And you can click in our map here to select the zone you want to go, like this. And if you have the virtual reality glasses, you can click here to use the VR mode to open it on the version. Okay, that's it all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Piakan.
All right, thank you very much for that. And now, thank you very much. And there will be no Q&A session. So thank you. And now we shall move on to the fourth presentation. Thank you very much.
Our fourth presenter is from KitStop Science Center, Singapore, Regina Lee Wen-eung. The title of the presentation is Bringing STEM to Preschools. Please share your screen for the presentation.
Can I just check that the screen is visible?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Please,
Okay, thank you everyone for joining me today. My name is Regina, and I'm going to talk to you about bringing STEM to preschool through our outreach program. So I'm from KidStop, which is the children dedicated science center in Singapore itself. So we are going to cover today 4 main areas. Firstly, I'll tell you more about KidStop and also the aim of our KidStop outreach arm, and also some of the approaches that we use for our KidStop outreach programs. And finally, I will share with you some of the challenges that we have been facing ever since the COVID-19 pandemic hit all of us. So first and foremost about KidStop and its program. So KidStop opened its door in 2014 to meet with the demand of a science museum in Singapore that would cater to a younger audience. So Science Center so KidStop is Science Center's a dedicated children museum, and we reach out to children from 18 months all the way to 8 years old. So we have more than 20 thematic exhibits designed to introduce concept of STEAM, where young learners are provided with the opportunities to learn and be equipped with relevant skills, and also to prepare them for the future. And apart from the hardware, we also run programs in-house and also outside to guide children to discover more about the world through hands-on experiences and also playful exploration. So these are some of the photos that we have grabbed. So we have thematic exhibits like a built environment where children can take on the role of an engineer and operate a crane, for instance. We also have a small world which is catered to our younger audience, where they can learn through sensory touches and play. We also have a Dino Pit as well as a Know Your Body zone for children to find out more about their emotions and to know that it's actually all right to feel, angry or sad, and they also learn ways to also talk about their emotions. So for our outreach arm, we have certain aims that we laid out way before we start, and this outreach department was formed about 4 years ago to extend the reach to our preschool sector. So we have 4 main areas in terms of our aims. Firstly is to start them young. So one of our main mission is to ignite interest in learning about STEAM, a concept through an enjoyable and approachable way to continue to inspire children to engage with science or STEAM even when they grow up in the future. And also the outreach arm aims to increase access to STEAM learning among preschool sector. Although, like I mentioned, that we have programs that we run in-house, we do realize that not a majority of preschools are coming to KidStop, which is why we feel that there's a need to close-in that gap, and that is why we're bringing programs to school and to their venue. And all of our outreach programs are designed to complement existing school curriculums so that we can enhance the learning of science or STEAM in their school through meaningful and fun means. We also make it very fast, free, and easy for preschool teacher, meaning to say that because we are bringing the program to the school will not have to, for instance, prepare lunch for children, find ways to organize transportation to bring children to our gallery, as well as the concern of dealing with a large group of children when they do bring children out for excursion. So in terms of approaches as well, we are looking at 3 main approaches. So we have arts integrated into STEAM learning, experiential play through hands-on activities, and theme-based learning. So let me walk you through these 3 points one by one. So by integrating arts into the delivery of STEAM content, this has always been our main way or approach to engage young children, especially through creative drama and performance. So we feel that using creative drama and performance, young children can encounter and understand a more difficult subject like science or STEM through song and dance. And this approach makes learning come alive because it's more interactive and is constantly engaging with the young audience. We also spend time to focus a lot on the sets and props that we use. So they are a must when it comes to our outreach program. So using props, they are, for instance, larger than life and also colorful. It appeals to our younger audience almost instantly, and it creates an instant connection between the performer and also the children. And most of the props are made lightweight, portable, and also being able to flat pack it because we need to bring it out often to schools. So the other aspect of integrating arts into STEAM is the use of mascot to enhance performance. So, KidStop is a children science center. So we use a lot of, we have these 5 members, whom we call the KidStop founder. And we use them because they have specific characteristics that we hope that children can also, so that children can relate to them easier. So we have Win, Belle, Joe, Max, and Pepper. And for instance, in terms of their characteristics, Win is usually the playful and outgoing one, and Belle is the youngest of the group, so she's innocent but always excited to learn about new things about discovering the world. Jo is the leader of the crowd, so she's always the adventure one and always urging the 4 other children to go on adventures with her together. And of course, we have Max, who is like the Care Bear, and he loves music and art. And last but not least, we have Pepper, who is the smartest of the lot, but also the most eccentric one. So by giving them characteristics, we hope that by using them in our performance, children can then identify themselves with the character or the mascot and make the performance more engaging. So with the 2D version of the mascot, we then convert them to 3D, turning them into costume where our performers can wear during the performance. And like I mentioned before, children love mascots, so it's really very easy to get a very favorable reaction, and thus reducing the distance between the performer as well as the viewer themselves. So in 2018, we actually took the mascot to another level because we teamed up with one of the non-profit organizations called Singapore Kindness Movement in Singapore, where they run national campaign to promote kindness to Singaporeans. So we have a mascot from both of our company coming together to do a musical talking about the science of kindness. We also run mascot meet and greet during in our gallery and sometimes at events, so that, like I say, we can also promote the brand to our audience. In terms of also arts integrating into STEAM, if you look at this picture over here, this is actually a screen grab from our digital version of our one of our latest program called Creating Curiosity, where we co-develop it with one of theatre company in Singapore. So in Kids Stop, also through our outreach program, we work very closely with different partners from the industry so that we can tap on their expertise and also improve our standing in this case, giving better performance or adopting creative drama more efficiently in our program. So next I have, I'm going to talk about the other approach, which is experiential play through our hands-on activities. So hands-on activities is also a very important component when we bring programs out to preschool. So apart from, for instance, a performance, we will also pair it up with a hands-on activity so that children can continue the learning rather than, us sitting there and watching just the performance itself. So we hope that through this facilitated program, children will explore and naturally be encouraged to use scientific processes while they play, create, investigate, and also explore. So if you look at these 2 photos, these are actually photos that we took during our outreach program where children are being engaged in sensory-based learning. And all this material itself, even though sometimes it's a lot, we do prepare them and also bring them to school for the program. Then the last approach that I'm going to talk about is theme-based learning. So thematic approach is a way of teaching and learning whereby many areas of the curriculum are connected together and integrated within the same theme. We find it especially useful and helpful to use this approach of learning, because then teacher will be able to map what children are learning in school to and scaffold their learning through programs that they want to get from external vendors. So one important point, like I mentioned, is that it helps to enhance the curriculum or learning in school. So one example I have here is one of our performance called Amazing Cabbage, where we teach children more about chemistry. So in the performance, children will be exposed to pH indicators, and also during the hands-on activity, children will get to test out what kind of pH value a certain unknown liquid is. We also have I Spy with My Eye, which is another performance that we conduct in school. And this thematic program is this thematic program on the human body is especially popular during the first 3 months of the school, because that's when the academic calendar starts and teacher wants to teach the children more about their human body and understand their own human body. The next one I have is called the STEAM Play Shop, which is recently launched, where children are taught the basics of design thinking while collaborating with their peers to creatively provide a solution to a design brief while using tech tools. So if you see in this picture, you have children trying to figure out how to use a 3D pen, and also they work together to, for instance, find a solution to light up to answer to a design brief. And in this case, because the workshop is called Light Up the Village, the children are supposed to find a solution to light up a village because the village has went through constant power outages. And now I'm going to talk about a bit on the challenges due to COVID-19. I think a lot of museums around the world are quite badly hit due to the pandemic, and it's the same for our outreach program as well, especially when we have to go into the preschool to conduct the activity. I think as soon as we were out of the national lockdown, there were a lot of early regulations that dictate preschools to not have external vendors to enter any of the preschool, which is why it was really difficult for us to even continue engaging children in terms of STEAM and also science learning. So even now, situation has improved a lot, but preschool are still quite receptive to having, are still not very receptive to having a third party into their school compound. Reason being is because preschools are facing a shortage of manpower. There are certain preschool teachers that decided to go home during this whole pandemic situation, and which is why teachers have to cover one another in terms of teaching, cover one another in terms of their own curriculum and also lessons, which is why there is a lower commitment level for preschools to embark in any of our outreach program. And last but not least, this is quite an interesting point that I found out. So in Singapore, most of the preschool try to adopt an open concept classroom, meaning the furnitures are not fixed or drilled to the floor, and they can be shifted accordingly to carve out a certain space required for lessons. And funny enough, although this was a very popular style of designing the classroom, it is now considered a limitation because their children then cannot children then can flow easily from one place to another within the classroom, and this creates this makes it very difficult for children to not intermingle. And these are the four challenges that we have been facing. And to overcome these challenges, what we have been doing is to digitalize our outreach program to make it more accessible via our online platforms. And we try as much as possible to introduce flexibilities within our program, meaning to say that, for instance, if a preschool prefers to have a digital version of the performance and coupled by restricted numbers of teachers from our end going to their school to conduct a hands-on activity, we will be happy to work with their restrictions to make sure that we still continue to engage their children in STEM learning. And thank you. That's all I have for today.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you very much. That was a very interesting presentation by Regina Lee Wen-eun. Thank you so much again. Educating children about STEAM, the key to that is sparking their interest. And according to this survey that I know, it seems that there is a lot of differences between teachers and children in terms of their response because there is a gap between theories and practical application. But seeing how in Singapore they're integrating the two areas is very interesting. Due to limited time, I'd like to introduce the next speaker. Next speaker is from Science Center Singapore, Leah Zentina Leo. The title of the presentation is Science at Your Doorstep. Before we begin the presentation, please share your screen with us.
Hi, sorry.
네.
Can you see my screen?
Hello.
Hello?
Jia Jian.
Hi.
Yeah, are you ready?
Okay.
Okay, please.
Everything okay? Yes. Okay. So, hi everybody. I'm Tina. I'm from Science Center Singapore. I'm a science educator working at Science Center Singapore, And today I'll be presenting on one of our initiatives called Science at Your Doorstep, which is an initiative that came out of the COVID-19 pandemic, where we can't conduct workshops in science center, so we had to bring it to their doorstep or to the homes of our customers. So under this umbrella, we have a couple of projects. But before I touch on this, let me just introduce Science Center Singapore. So this is our Science Center, and over at the center, you can see that this is the main building. So over here is where most of our exhibits are at, and we also have classrooms and laboratories where we can hold workshops and events catered for both schools and public. And over at the right, you can see that is Kid Stop, which my colleague was telling you guys about just now. And over at the corner, we also have Snow City, which is a snow center designed to give a winter experience all year round. So for Science Center Singapore, we pride ourselves on being an informal science hub, and we want to promote interest and learning and creativity in science and technology. So we do this through engaging and exciting events catered for both schools and public. And apart from being in the edutainment industry, we also want to partner with different organizations to advance science and technology initiatives. And as an organization itself, we also want to be caring and progressive. So the initiatives that came out of this COVID-19 pandemic is an example of how we overcame difficulties and progressed further. So one of these initiatives is Science at Your Doorstep, where because when the COVID-19 first hit, a lot of these workshops and events had to be cancelled. So we had to find a way to continue engaging our audiences with science. So we need to make science accessible to all of them. So we decided to bring science to their homes. So there are two broad ideas. First is the home-based science kits, and secondly is live online workshops. So our very first trial of workshops or online workshops is from the Abbott Young Scientist program. So this program is supported by Abbott to bring science to underprivileged students, and these students are being mentored by our Science Center staff. So the students will get to complete Young Scientist cards and a science project. So typically during the summer holidays in June, we have workshops for these students in the Science Center, but because of COVID-19, we had to shift all these workshops online. So we offered 4 workshops, and 2 of these workshops came with activity kits or materials that were delivered to their house. And 2 of these didn't come with any materials. So what we did was to send the participants a list of materials that they need to get. So it can be common household items or things that they can get at a supermarket. But overall, there is more positive feedback for the online workshops that came with the activity kits, possibly because it is more convenient and the students can have more hands-on activities. So over on the top left, this is an example of one of the activity kits and materials that we sent to their home. And at the bottom, you can see some screen captures of our online workshop that was held over Zoom. So all in all, we reached out to 36 students who were mentored by 39 of our staff. And concurrently, we were also pushing out home-based science kits. So these science kits are very similar to the science kits you would see in the market, but we try to value add to it by having online workshops and an online learning platform. So the online learning platform is to reinforce their learning, so they can also discuss with each other through the online forum or to ask questions to the educators. So over on the top left, that is the Curious Geneticist Kit. So in this kit, they will learn about DNA extraction, about traits and inheritance. And over on the right, you can see that is the Curious Physicist Kit, where they get to have a little bit more tinkering experience and build their own scissors lift, pen flute, and tricolor torch. And over on the top right, you can see that is a screen capture of our online learning platform where they get to do some matching games, some quizzes, or view some videos. And upon completion of all these activities, they will get a certificate and a badge. So since the launch in July, we have sold 46 kits, and most of them actually come from the online workshop, but there are still some customers who actually bought just the kit only. And following which, we also started to push out more online live workshops. So Again, the kits are delivered to their house. The workshop duration is kept shorter, about 1 to 1.5 hours. So this is because we know that over Zoom, the children's attention span might be a little bit shorter. We also try to offer a variety of topics from DNA to physics to more nature-related activities. And apart from just having hands-on activities, we also try to incorporate some online games and quizzes and polls so that there's more interaction between us and the students. So since the launch, we have about 12 online workshops reaching out to over 200 students. And even though it's a session that's held over online and there is a lack of the physical interaction, our feedback rating is still quite high, so the students still feel quite engaged and enjoy the session. So for the last part, I'm just going to touch on a few pointers or lessons that we've learned from conducting online workshops. So definitely when we started doing this, we are not very familiar with Zoom, so we need a lot of time for preparation. The students as well, they might not be familiar with Zoom and would require more time. We also set a few ground rules, such as switching on their video cameras if possible, so that there's more interaction, and also how to ask questions, such as do they type in the chat or do they unmute themselves. We also try to familiarize ourselves with various functions of Zoom, such as things like polling or spotlighting, so that we can have a easier and more interactive service. So online workshops, definitely that is more focused on the listening and might not be very suitable for non-audio learners. So we use a lot of slides and videos and demonstrations and hands-on activities to keep all these students engaged. We also make sure to have checkpoints. So for instance, in between hands-on activities or in between sections, we would pause and ask if they have any questions, if they are following, because over Zoom, it's very difficult for us to check on their progress. So having checkpoints will ensure that all these students are following. And you can see a picture below. This is an example of our setup. We have a few laptops and visualizer. And we also have a few assistants to help with things like moderating the chat or spotlighting the educator. So in conclusion, these online workshops should definitely come with activity kits and materials to make it more engaging for the children. And we also want to make use of different features or online features to engage the students, such as using things like quizzes or polls to keep them engaged. And we definitely need assistance to help with moderating chat and answering questions. And as we move forward, when the pandemic starts to slow down, we can look towards a more blended learning approach, combining both physical on-site workshops with online workshops or online resources. So that's all for my presentation today. Thank you for having me. And if you have any questions or anything you want to discuss, you can drop me an email. Thank you.
네, 감사합니다.
All right, thank you very much for the presentation. So that was Jiajian Tia Liu. Thank you very much for the very interesting presentation. And now the next presenter, now it was supposed to be Namsray Jargal, but then now because of the urgent matters, we would have to move on to the next presentation. And it is Nansirati Supahan from Petrossian, Malaysia, and the presentation is entitled Petrossian Design Thinking Process. So please go ahead.
Hello. 네. Hello, 낸시라티. 안 들리는 것 같은데 오디오.
Nansirati, do you hear me? Hello? We're not getting your audio. Can you also do the screen share?
Patrick.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, okay, ready.
안녕하세요. I've been wanting to say that to all of you. First and foremost, thank you ISSM for actually inviting and giving me the opportunity to share this paper with all of you. And my name is Nancy Rati Supahan. You guys can call me Nancy. And I am from Petrossian, the Discovery Center. Basically, Petrossian is a science center that is located in the Petronas Twin Towers in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So in the future, if you're in Kuala Lumpur, please stop by our science center. We also do have presence around the world, around Malaysia via small satellite centers we call as placemats. So basically for today, we are going to share with you guys on the Petrossian design thinking process and how is it a structured approach to design thinking. So this is actually the layout and the flow of what we're going to go through today, the introduction and a bit of history on design thinking and the development of the Petrossian design thinking process workshop. So I'm going to call this long term as PDTP along the whole presentation. And then what is PDTP all about and how do we actually conduct the workshops in the methodology and a bit of conclusion on the workshops that we have conducted. So a little bit of history on the design thinking process. Basically, it started off with the engineering design process, whereby in this design process, it's a 7-step design process. Engineers are required to understand the problem first and then only generate alternative approaches. And the design thinking process is actually a very iterative process, meaning that if you have problems, you want to revisit the step before it, you can always do so. So it is not a linear process, it's an iterative process. And then in 2007, this school in Stanford University began to teach design thinking. So basically it is to shape the future innovation leaders. The end goal would be to tackle big projects and to inspire multidisciplinary and of course to promote radical collaboration. So the D school Stanford, the design thinking framework has 5 steps, which is empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and also test. And then design thinking is actually being made popular by David Kelly and Tim Brown from IDEO. Why? Because they actually started using design thinking as a consultation tool in organizations. So it is still hooked on human-centered approach, but the reason why it's being used as a consultation tool because it brings together what is desirable from the human point of view with what is technical feasible and also economical viable. So how do I sustain these solutions for the organization? And there are 3 core activities for design thinking. Number 1 is we start off with the inspiration, and number 2 is the ideation, and of course the end would be the implementation. So in Malaysia, we started to adopt the design thinking methodology and framework via Genovasi, Malaysia. They actually pioneered design thinking in Malaysia and they adopt the D school design thinking framework. It's the same, it's the 5-step process, but they encourage participants to adopt the DT mindsets via the 12 commandments. So these are the culture and the innovative culture that Genovasi, Malaysia wanted to bring forward when they actually conduct design thinking workshops. So in this paper, we're going to share the documented work on what we have done in Petrossian when we curate the PDTP workshop, and we're going to share the potential values of incorporating design thinking in workshops, and we can see how science centers can learn from participants when they engage and learn in the design thinking workshop. So that's a little bit of history on the development of the Petrossian design thinking workshop. So basically, we went for the design thinking workshop by Genovasi, and then we thought that, hey, this is actually a good approach to inculcate the innovative mindset in students. At that time, design thinking is used as a consultation tool and also is used among corporates. So it's quite an expensive cost to go. So for students, it's a bit not accessible. So we thought, let's try and do this. So Petrossian start to conduct design thinking design thinking workshop with university students. When we did the first batch, it was a pure adaptation of the design thinking model by the Stanford D School. But when we do it, we realize there are a few challenges that we face. So number one is the motivation and the context of design thinking is not well received by the students. And number two, we realize that they struggle a lot with the need to defer judgment. They don't want to challenge the assumption. Instead, they push straight away to ideation. So this is something that we are so used to be doing, right? Whenever we have a problem, we don't assess the problem first. We straight away go into how can we solve the problem. So we need to have to take a step back, and that is one of the challenges. The students don't want to take the step backs. And the other thing is the need to build and gain empathy. So basically, when they go out for empathy studies, we realize that the students are having problem listening to the users. Instead, they just want to validate certain things. So in design thinking, we promote people, our participants, to listen first and see what are the real concerns of our users and also our customers. And then because of those challenges, we start to iterate the design thinking workshop, and then we iterate it according to the Malaysian ecosystem. And then the final phase in 2018, we come up with the Petrossian design thinking process workshop. So it was rolled out in the ASPEC, the Asian Pacific Network of Science and Technology Centers, in 2018, and it was validated by Prof. Su Ye Liang from Yunzi University. So just a little bit of context on what is actually the Petrossian design thinking process, what are the difference and what are the similarities. So basically the difference would be it's a very structured approach, it is a very tool-based approach, and it's very hands-on. The similarity, that's the difference. The similarities would be it is still anchored on human-centered approach. It is an iterative process, meaning if you have to revisit any process, you can always do so. It's not a linear process. And of course, it encourages the DT mindsets, meaning that whenever the participants go for the workshop, we try to ask them to adapt to the DT mindsets. And if you can see here, the Petrossian design thinking process have three big domains, which is discover, explore, and solve. And under each main domain, there are actually smaller domains. You can actually see that the information is being segregated into really bite-sized pieces. And we realize that this actually works best for people who are really first-timers to the design thinking process. They are not sure yet, but they want to learn. So this is a good way to adapt and adopt the design thinking process. So you can, at the end of the whole workshop, the participants will actually need to pitch their solution, and their solution needs to be indicated what kind of pain points that the solution is actually solving. So I'll go through the structure of the Petrossian design thinking process in detail here. So basically, how we normally start a workshop, we do have two different types of workshop. One is just an awareness workshop, which is 1 day, and into a really depth case study workshop, we usually have two or more days. So we'll start with the opening frames. So that's the setting of the context and how it is related to innovation. And of course, after that, the participants will choose their own themes and provide their initial thoughts on how they perceive the challenge, and then they will be introduced to the Petrossian design thinking process. So in this section, in this part, they will be needed to actually try and adapt certain of the design thinking mindsets and principles. Like for instance, they need to try and generate ideas with an open mind. They need to encourage, engage with multidisciplinary. So we encourage in one team to have maybe different people from different classes, different genders, and of course, maybe if you're in a corporate setting, different departments, yeah. And of course, we encourage them to collaborate and work in a team because they will need to make decisions as a team. You cannot make decisions as an individual. And of course, be purposeful and meaningful always, and place people above all. So whenever they want to come up with some insights or they want to come up with any solutions, they need to think about what is purposeful and meaningful for the customers that they are creating. So, and after that, we actually reveal the design challenge to the participants. So each workshop will have a different design challenge based on what is relevant for the workshop, participants of the workshop, and they will undergo the whole process, which is the discover, explore, and solve. So under discover, they will try to understand what is the problem statement first. They need to validate the problem statement first, and then draw meaningful insights from the data through the empathy studies, and then they will need to define their users, means they through building of personas, and then with that they will try to ideate, come up with ideas based that is meaningful for the users, and then they would change the idea, they would turn the idea into something that is tangible during the prototyping session. And of course they will need to test their prototype, and after they test their prototype they will need to gather feedback from the users and change or iterate the prototype according to what are the users findings and comments. And at the end of the workshop they will need to pitch their solution. So basically when they pitch the solution in front of three people, a panel of judges, they will need to tell what is the name of the solution and how does it work and what are the pain points that the solution addresses, because the end goal would be to come up with meaningful solutions for the customers and users. And of course when we did the workshop, we find out there are two actually significant factors that plays an important role for the successful delivery of the PDTP workshop. So number one is the active roles of facilitators, and number two is the introduction of the relevant design challenge that the participants will use throughout the whole PDTP workshop. So I'd like to go into detail further here. In a normal setting of a design thinking workshop, there will be, you need at least two facilitators. One is the lead facilitator. The lead facilitator will go through all the slides, will introduce the design thinking mindsets, and also will introduce the tools that the participants will use. And then usually after that, we will actually break them into groups, and that's where the co-facilitator will be guiding and making sure that the group is on track. So the lead facilitator can also turn into a co-facilitator when during the breakout sessions. Yeah, so at least a minimum of 2 people to make sure that the effectiveness of learning is among the participants. And of course, the introduction of a design challenge. So what we normally do is before the design thinking workshop, we actually talk to the teachers, we actually talk to the stakeholders to actually come up with what design challenge that they want the participants to work on. So basically because we want the participants to work on something that is relevant to them, so that's why we need to actually personalize the design challenge for that group of participants. And then of course at the end of the session, they will be pitching their solutions in front of a panel of judges, a very informal pitching, and followed by a short Q&A. So basically some of them will pitch their concept posters, and then some of the group will pitch their prototype in front of the panel of judges. So the thing here is to tell a story that resonates with the people. Like this is a compelling story that I want everybody to be on board. So that's why we encourage the groups to share their solutions with the panel of judges. And some conclusion after we have done a lot of series of design thinking workshop, we realized that the PDTP actually has a really good advantage for participants who are first timers because it's very structured, it's very hands-on, and it's very tool-based. And then we realized that after talking verbatim with the university students, they agreed that the design thinking actually add value to the way they view a problem and coming up with a solution. And of course, there is a need to identify the different design challenge for each workshop, because that will ensure that the participants have ownership towards what they come up with the solution, because it's relevant to them. And of course, the design thinking workshop is very productive and also replicable. But to obtain a higher learning impact among participants, we need to have facilitators that is very well versed in the design thinking methodology. And of course, as for now, it's very hard to conduct physical workshop, and the capacity and the manpower to conduct physical workshop is quite limited as well. So moving forward, we are trying to change, we are trying to convert this Petrossian design thinking process workshop into a e-learning module. So we call it the PEDTP. So that is still in research phase. We are still researching it with a group of university students as well. And then if the outcome is good, we might actually try to market it off and also reach out to more people by the online version, which is the PEDTP. All right, so if you guys have, if you want more information on the Petrossian design thinking process, or if you want to collaborate, just feel free to contact me if you have any questions. And that's all. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, 낸시 라티. 네, 디자인 싱킹에
Thank you very much. So that was a presentation on design thinking. So creative and innovative solution finding, and also problem-centric thinking, how they should approach problem solving through this kind of design thinking process. So thank you very much for the presentation.
So one of the presenters could not make it due to personal reasons. So this will be our last presentation. From Kids Stop Science Center Singapore, Lei Peng and Astra Yap. So we have two presenters. The title of the presentation is Making Science Program Accessible for All. So starting with you, Astra Yap, please share your screen with us. 안녕하십니까? 네, 지금 보이십니까? 제 프레젠테이션 보이십니까? 네, 좋습니다. 안녕하십니까? 저는 아스트라라고 합니다. 오늘 저는 여러분들께 보시다시피 이 주제에 대해서 발표를 하려고 하는데요. 싱가포르 과학센터의 이제 아이들을 위한 센터인 키즈스탑에서 무엇을 하고 있는지, 그리고 모두가 접근 가능한 과학 프로그램을 어떻게 만들 수 있는지에 대해서 말씀드리고자 합니다.
Okay, so here are the content that we will be sharing for today. So just a little bit of a background is that Lei Peng and I, we are the committed member of the Inclusion Amoeba team. So why do we have this Inclusion Amoeba team? Is because we hope to promote an inclusive environment that empowers all to connect, belong, and grow in the interests of science and technology. So through today's discussion, we hope to inspire you, in particular in science inclusive programming, because inclusion covers a wide spectrum, includes like sexuality, race, languages, and today we will be focusing on children with diverse abilities. However, the strategies that we will be using are practical and feasible, which you can customize to your museums and science centers' needs. So prior for the visit, we usually communicate with teachers as well as parents on different things, such as the participant's profile. We want to understand more about the children that we will be interacting with. We will also share with the teachers as well as the parents on the lesson and activities that we will be conducting. And things to note, for example, if a child, or whether is there like any allergies, whether the child needs have like maybe like visual impairment. So these are the little things that we want to take note of. And also we will encourage them to come to KidStop, to Science Center Singapore for a site visit, so that the caregivers will know more about the spaces and things that they have to be aware of. After all this communication, we hope to make some modification. And this can include like lighting, whether is it too bright, do we need to dim it, quiet space, where children can need a space to regulate their emotions in a very respectful manner. So we might want to have an area for them to cool down and to avoid those overstimulation environments, as well as activities. So for example, if a child is allergic to, for example, like vinegar, can we actually provide alternatives like, for example, lemon juice? Or if a child has a certain visual impairment, can we provide a bigger text for the child? Apart from that, we also provide access guides. These include social stories, sensory maps, as well as sensory bags. So what is exactly social story? So social story is developed by Carol Gray in 1991, which was specifically designed for children with autism. However, it's found to be benefit to all different age group as well as different people. Now, social story tells you a brief description of an event or an activity, yet gives specific information of what can be expected and why. And these social stories give children a sense of what to expect and an idea of what is happening. And it helps them to reduce their sense of anxiety. Apart from social stories, we also provide sensory maps. So sensory maps gives them a guide of what are the sensory friendly areas that can be found in the exhibits. High sensory areas includes like loud sounds, bright lights, crowded place, while low sensory is the opposite. And we do understand that the environment is a hardware and therefore it can be difficult for them to change. And therefore we will provide a sensory bag if requested. This includes like earmuffs, toys, so that children who have sensory issues can help to regulate themselves, either that if they are too overwhelmed with the environment or they are underwhelmed with the environment. So these are the things that we'll be sharing with them. So next up, Lei Ping will be sharing with you more about the on-site areas, which she will be taking over.
다음 발표자시죠? 예, 같은
That's right.
주제입니다만 레이팽 씨 부탁드립니다.
And over to you, Lei Peng. Please share your screen with us.
잠시만 기다려 주시고.
We'd like to ask for you to wait just a moment. Lei Peng, if you would, please go ahead with your presentation. I don't think we can hear you. I can't hear the audio.
오디오가 안 나오죠?
I can't hear the audio.
Hi, can you hear me?
Okay, no problem.
Apologies, I was having some issue with. Yeah, so I will just continue. So for today, I'll be sharing some strategies that can be used when conducting a program for children with special needs. So visual resources can actually help a child with special needs to interact and allows them to have the ability to make certain choices and to express their needs. So for today, we will look into schedule, rules, and visual cues, in which I'll elaborate a little bit further in the upcoming slides. So by implementing a visual schedule, it actually allows the children to know what is expected of them. This way, it would also help them to manage their time better. To help them with the transition to the next task or activity, the facilitator could use timer or bell to indicate the transition. So rules are actually recommended as it helps to set some simple expectations at the start of the class. The rules implemented should be short and simple for the child to understand. For this picture you see on the slide, it was a program conducted by Astro and myself previously for a special school. We implemented the visual rules and schedule for the class, and the children actually followed through it pretty well. And visual cues such as the instructional boards can also help a child to learn better. It provides a clear picture illustration and instruction for the activity. At the same time, it breaks down the task into simple steps to make it manageable for the child. And when speaking to a child with special needs, we should always use everyday language and speak in a slow and clear manner. Giving short instructions will help the child to understand and follow through the process better. The facilitator should always provide positive encouragement and feedback to the child as it helps them to build up their confidence and maintain the motivation to finish the task. In the process, one should always remember to minimize the usage of no and stop, but instead tell the child what is expected of them. For example, if you want the child to stop running, you should say, "Let's walk." And in Kids Stop, our usual class ratio is 1:10. However, when we conduct programs for children with special needs, we will have a lower teacher-student ratio such as 1:5. This allows the facilitator to better attend to the child's learning needs and provide a better facilitation. In the process of learning, the facilitator should also ensure that there are minimal distractions in the learning space. By providing an individual set of hands-on activities for each child, it allows them to complete the task at their own comfortable pace with the help of the instructional board. A post-program evaluation helps the facilitator to identify what is good for the program and what could be done better. It can be done by consistently seeking feedback from the schools. This way, it can help to improve on the content and the quality of the program. Post-activity helps the class to reinforce their learning. The facilitator can consider coming up with a post-activity with clear visual cues and instructions, and is relatable to what the children have learned in the program. With that, we have come to the end of our presentation, and we hope that by sharing the strategies for the 3 areas under pre, during, and post-program, it will inspire us to make science accessible to people from all walks of life. Thank you, everyone.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you very much, Astra Yap and Lei Peng. Once again, thank you for the presentation. So for an hour and a half, we have heard from people of various sectors: creativity, environment, school. Those are the topics of the presentation. Thank you so much once again for your wonderful presentation. And to conclude, we are going through some difficult times due to COVID-19, and the conference has to be held online. But we are in the process of overcoming COVID-19, so I hope that we will be able to meet face-to-face during ISSM 2021. And thank you so much to all the audiences for listening until the very end of this session. Thank you.